Okay, everybody, welcome to episode number 68. We just talked about that. It was 68.
It's impressive.
I'm getting close to 100.
That's right.
Episode 68 of the John Riley Project, and I am very pleased to have as my guest this evening Rancho Bernardo author Steve Dow.
Thank you, John. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Fantastic. So, you came out with a new book. And, we're anxious to learn more about the book. And,
Sure.
And the book I know is about Trump and the 2016 election. And, before we really dive into that, maybe you could tell us a little bit about yourself, what led you to this point and a little bit about your backstory.
Yeah. I'll point out, like, as far as the book goes, I basically am a citizen and a voter. That's as far as
That's what it says right there
yeah,
on the back.
That's kind of all that I thought was applicable to the book. But my background's pretty varied. I was born in Philadelphia, early 70s, grew up in New Jersey, went to college at Villanova University.
Oh, yeah, right on.
Wildcat basketball.
Yeah. I remember the 1985 Final Four. They won it all.
Oh, I do too.
That was a huge upset.
My father went there too. So Villanova was like in my blood growing up.
Nice.
I was praying. It was a timeout, and I ran to my room and I was like praying for this miracle thing to happen.
Was it Raleigh Massimino?
Oh yeah.
And then the other team was Patrick Ewing, right?
And yeah, it's funny. The next year, my brother and sister are twins. One went to Villanova, one went to Georgetown.
Oh,
so
no.
this rivalry in the family. Actually, my sister really didn't care, to be honest with you.
Okay.
But my brother egged it on a little bit.
Cool.
But yeah, so after that, I guess I graduated in 95. Got my job. So I became a civil engineer. That was my degree.
Okay.
At Villanova. I had a minor in. It's actually called Peace and Justice. It was a humanities minor.
Yeah. Cool.
And I became a civil contractor for a little bit. I worked for a contractor in D.C., helping them manage their construction projects. Met my soon-to-be wife, Gaby Dow, who's been a guest here.
Yeah, she's fabulous.
Yeah, she is. Thank you. And so we lived in D.C. for a little while. We were just dating, and she wanted to move out to San Diego. I wanted to move out to San Diego, so I took a little gamble coming, but figured it would be okay, and it turned out great. So that was 97. Got married. We now have two great kids, two boys, 14 and 12. Professionally, I've done, I'm a civil engineer by trade.
Yeah.
So I went back, I got my MBA at San Diego State. So I've done a whole bunch of different things, but for about probably the last 10, 15 years, I've done like program controls, procedures manuals, procedures development for different school districts on their bond programs.
Oh, wow. Oh, interesting.
Yeah. I enjoy it. So anyway, but as you can maybe tell, so I had that engineering component to myself in college. I also had this peace and justice component, which, it's funny. I remember graduating, talking to my uncle who was like a trader, and he was giving me advice about getting jobs. And he's like, hey, you might want to, not mention peace and justice. That sounds a little hippie-ish, So I think I changed it to humanities degree. It was a humanities degree, but
for the resume.
But but nonetheless, that's always been a part of me. I've always
course.
cared about that, and in the humanities part, I think I've got like a pretty practical side, engineering wise, and I care about a lot of these other issues, and I try to be creative, and writing has always been something I've loved. I written music, and when I've gotten older, with the kids getting a little bit older, I've tried to make a little bit more time to do some writing. So I've been working on a project, and then I would periodically, watch the news and find something that really, I felt like, man, whatever I have in my head, I want to get that out. Whether or not anybody reads it or not, for me, it's like a cathartic, whatever the word is, and forgive me, but it was good for me to just get that out. So I've done that for a couple things. And then this book it was just going to be another one of those type of articles. And it ended up being this very free-flowing 2 weeks of me just kind of mind dumping what I felt.
Yeah.
And was longer than an article would be.
It was like a flow of consciousness.
Yeah, it's kind of how it felt.
Yeah.
It was. I mean, it's a small book. It's almost like I'd say it's a pamphlet / small book, but I think it's important, and so I did it.
I think it's awesome you did it. I mean, it takes a lot of guts to come out with a book, but now you're a published author. Got a little street cred right there. Right?
Maybe. We'll see.
But that's great. I mean,
thanks.
So was this building? Like, did you feel it like this sense that you needed to express yourself? You needed to get it out there? Had it been building over time, or did something happen in the early part of this year?
Yeah, no. Well, it's funny. I'm 46, and we have younger kids now. So, my experience is as I'm growing, I'm starting, not to be morbid about it, but you start to think, okay, hey, I'm not here forever.
Yeah.
What do you want to leave behind?
That's why I'm doing the podcast.
Yeah, no, I believe it. Life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, right?
Yeah.
I saw that, and that's true. But it's like very much just like I'm recognizing that I'm not here forever. I want to say whatever I want to say. I want to say it.
Yeah, right on.
Whether or not people pick it up or not, I'm going to say it. And maybe my kids or grandkids will read it. Actually, I brought something else later. I have something from my great grandfathers and stuff where they had written down some stuff, and it's been pretty neat. Because you had mentioned on another podcast that you got into the ancestry stuff.
Yeah,
right?
That's a big project of mine.
Yeah. We've got that in common too, I think.
Nice.
But anyway, it feels so good for me to have those things. So I figured I wanted to kind of capture some thoughts.
Yeah.
So that's kind of been the case for a couple, bigger issues that I've been thinking about. And then, like I say, some of these issues come up, in the news. And this is one that, I want to be kind of nuanced how I talk about this book, because I feel like when people say, hey, here's a book about Trump, it's either a trash Trump book or it's Trump's a God book.
Yeah.
And, I tried to put something together there. But to answer back to your question, yes, it's been building up.
Yeah.
Like lots of other things I've been thinking about. I want to kind of get out what I'm thinking. But yes, this has been building up even before he got elected. But yeah, I want it's a book, and I felt like it needed to be written. Forgive me, pull me back in if I start swaying.
No. Well, tell the audience the title of the book.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So it is called 15 Reasons People Voted for Trump in 2016. And why these don't apply in 2020.
Yeah, show it like next to your face there,
you
because
go.
it's on the zoomed in camera.
Okay.
There. Okay, there you go. All right. So awesome.
Yeah, thanks. So what I was trying to do with this is recognize that a lot of people that voted for Trump are really cool, great people.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And I feel like a lot of what's been lost in the news is. That I think that has been lost. I think the idea is that if you voted for Trump, you're a misogynistic pig, you're a racist, it's hard because bluntly, he said some pretty racist things and misogynistic. I mean, the argument is there, but I specifically in this book did not really want to go into that because partly, turn on the news and you'll see it. There's enough people writing about that. I wanted to kind of hone in on. The past is the past, and this is maybe like a little bit of the practical side of me. 2016 happened, and between now and 2020, is the only time we can do anything about this. As far as me trying to influence people or have people have some of these thoughts. So I specifically was just trying to look from a practical standpoint of those people who aren't racist, misogynist pigs, which there might be some of those out there, and
everything has gotten so distorted and irrational.
It's either this or this, and it's very rarely this or this. It's usually something like.
Well, that's how
in between
the narrative is played out, and how the manipulation of society is played out. That how people are in these extreme teams.
Yeah, I mean, we should talk about that because bluntly, I think it's like an existential threat, and I don't think that's something that's overstated. I mean, if we can't figure out how to just talk to people civilly again, and just look at the core issues and give people the benefit of the doubt, and this is on a both sides thing because I've heard. AOC's this crazy commie, whatever. She seems really cool. She seems like a really cool woman, smart, she might have ideas that differ than yours or mine or, whomever, but these are human beings, and that also gets lost on people, I do think, potentially, part of what I talk about in this book is Trump and the narcissistic personality disorder that people talk about with him. And he does seem to kind of check the boxes. But there are other people too that check those boxes in politics. And I think that's true when people talk about, hey, these people are narcissists. I'm sorry, a lot of these people are narcissists, but they're not all narcissists, is my point. Narcissists. They're not all narcissists. They're not all there just for power. A lot of these people truly care, and they're trying to do the right thing. They just might have a perspective that's a little bit different than someone else's.
A lot of people have often said that all politicians are narcissists to a degree.
Perhaps.
Yeah. And then what happens, I think, is they get in and they get sucked into the system, and then it all becomes about holding on to that power.
Yeah.
And then that's when things get kind of nutty.
And that's where, so then it's like, well, how do you change that system, right? Because, I mean, that's, you talk about Citizens United and certain things that are set up in a way to kind of let things go the way that they're going. And, I think it was 60 Minutes or one of those type of episodes where they followed a senator or a congressman in Congress. He just got in there, and I think like 80% of his working day was trying to get campaign money for the next campaign.
It was Thomas Massey, wasn't it?
It could have been.
Yeah, he's a congressman from Kentucky.
Okay, that sounds familiar.
Yeah, so, and he's commented on that, where to get seats on committees, you got to pay money.
Yeah.
Which is crazy,
Yeah. See, this is not the ideal. I think we can all agree on that, So I think like when you and I say stuff like that, I think the majority of people are like, yeah, we totally agree with that.
Right.
But, it is a system, and, I'm not a politician, so I don't pretend to know the ins and outs. I know my wife, had some connection to the political world a little bit. So through her, I've seen some stuff, and I've seen things on like a local level with school boards or whatever, where you could kind of see how some of these, these influences factor in. But I'm trying to write this book, and yes, it does lay out facts that if you read it, people would be like, wow, you're slamming Trump. But like, they're really just facts. A lot of these are facts, and I think they're important to talk about. And again, so it's 15 reasons people voted for Trump in 2016. These are reasons where I would talk to friends or family members about, that election. I mean, that year was hard for a lot of families, a lot of people. I mean, I'm sure we probably all know people who had, real issues in family life because of this. I know it's been an issue within our family.
Oh, yeah.
But, again, it's not trying to demonize anybody from any side. It's just now trying to say, okay, hey, look, this is done. Water under the bridge. 2016's gone. These are the reasons many of you said you voted for Donald Trump to be president. Now we're coming up on 2020. Are those reasons still good for you now? Because let's take a look at those reasons.
Yeah.
And some of them are I listed 15. Again, this was about 2 weeks of just free range mind dump on the paper. So, I mean, I'm sure I missed some, and I think I made some.
You covered a lot of the ones that we often hear in casual conversations with people, that we often hear some of the talking heads on the media mention. I felt when I read your book, you had laid out very rational reasons why people voted for Trump. And I think if you ask most Trump voters, they would agree with the reasons, the 15 headlines. Mm-hmm. They may debate you on some of your facts, and you showed, you had a bibliography with links, although it was in paperback, but there were links, backing up all of the claims you made.
And I tried to get, a lot of these are, New York Times or Washington Post, or, people would say this is left, but I tried to get like Fox News. I tried to get some other, more right-leaning publications, as people would consider them. Yeah,
that's important to show multiple angles.
Right.
Because I've often believed that it's hard to get truth out of a single media source, because all media, in one fashion or another, is biased, either by what they say or by what they choose not to say. And so by having multiple flavors of media, you can distill the truth yourself.
I don't know who said it, but it's one of my favorite quotes, and it's "Woe to the reader of but one book." And I wish I knew who said that, but I loved it. It makes me just realize, you really need to get these other perspectives.
Yeah. And I think it shows credibility on you as an author that you can show sources that are typically thought of as pro-Trump, as well as those that might be considered anti-Trump or what might be debatable as middle of the road.
Yeah, I mean, I was really just trying to get to facts, facts.
Yeah.
And again, this is just as a citizen, I wanted to try. I wanted to try to pull this together and try. And I think I'm proud of it. I think it's effective. But that's not necessarily for me to say. But
well, out of the 15, and I don't want you to give them all away. I mean, but is there like one or maybe two that you'd like to highlight during our conversation that were meaningful to you, or lesser known reasons or obvious reasons?
Yeah, I mean, there are a couple in here. I mean, there are things like things like he's going to work hard. I mean, some of these are like small things, but I'm going to vote for Trump because he's going to work hard. He knows the stuff, and he's going to work. And I'm only listing this one because in my mind it was so blatantly obvious that he did not do this. But I remember him giving a speech about how Obama went golfing, and this is not the thrust of my book, but golfing. The fact that the president golfs is not something I care. I'm not upset that the president likes to golf.
When they golf, they're actually conducting business.
Potentially.
Well, typically, I mean, they're always talking shop, really.
Okay.
Yeah,
perhaps.
I'll give them that benefit of the doubt.
But that is not the benefit of the doubt he gave his predecessor. And this
of course not.
This is the only reason why I pointed this one out, because this one, again, this is, I'll go to some other reasons too, but because this might seem petty, but to me, this gives it's an example of kind of his lack of enthusiasm, in my view, to actually really do the hard work. I have other examples in the book, so you might say, well, golfing or doing work, but the thing that really bugged me about that was that he laid into Obama about golfing. He went golfing this many times. He even gave a speech saying, I'm not going to leave the White House. I'm going to work so hard. And the reason that just bugged me because it was so, I thought to somebody who may have said, yeah, this guy's going to work hard for us and he's not going to take a day off and he's going to do all this stuff. I thought to me, like, this might be like, hey, just check this, what he said, and this is what's happening. He's golfing essentially twice as much as Obama.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care that he golfs. I care that he made it, it's kind of not being genuine here.
Yeah.
So again, small issue, but one of the things that I'm trying to get in the mind of people who voted for him, and I did not. I grew up in New Jersey, and he was so I would get the New York City news all the time. Local news.
Yeah. So he was a major figure.
I knew all about. I mean, I knew about him growing up, and it was kind of like, this guy's a con man. That was kind of the idea. So when people started talking about him being a great businessman, I'm not there with Donald Trump on his business meetings. I can't. I'm a person who just watches the news, and you can say, well, this, that, the other, about whatever ignorance I might have not being in these meetings. But, it was like kind of like a well-known thing growing up that this guy was wonderful at marketing, stunningly wonderful at marketing, reading the room. He had charisma, but he would, all these things that come out about him, his multiple bankruptcies, just examples of him just claiming this wonderful business acumen. And then you actually look at the numbers, and with the money that he was given, from his dad, basically, like, if there's one argument in the book that if he had just invested that in standard investments, he'd be about where he is
like
now.
in an index fund or something, right?
Correct. Yeah. So anyway, so those are some of the type of the issues, but I guess as far as a couple of things I want to make sure I point on, and these aren't specific. But as far as like a specific date or anything, but I do think at some point, and this is what we a little bit just talked about, but this whole idea of like the tribes, right? The modern day tribes.
Oh my gosh, that's a huge problem.
Because I think, again, I don't think it can be understated. I think it has an evolutionary basis, right? I mean, you read these things about how we evolved as people, and we needed tribes to kind of stay together, and there's we and there's us because we need to keep our food together and make sure that we're going to survive. And so you kind of see how the me versus us kind of evolved. And, now we're in a world where, we have limited resources on this world. I don't totally agree with that, but I mean, that's the general thought pattern,
right.
is that we have limited resources, or at least we live today as if we have limited resources. And because of that, you want to survive. So I think people are comfortable just with our group, whatever that might be. And I think that is an evolutionary thing.
Well, this is a fascinating topic. To take a little tangent here on tribalism.
Sure.
I mean, that was in the manifesto of the El Paso shooter. It was us against them, the invaders, which, by the way, is the rhetoric that came from the president.
Sure.
But you see this notion of tribalism in people on the right and people on the left, and it's gotten a lot worse. One of the reasons that this podcast is about life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness is that those are individual rights. All men are created equal, and we each have our own unique, inalienable individual rights. And I think that's a powerful concept, because when we frame it in terms of all these group identities, it just creates these wars. These Yankees, Red Sox were like fighting all the time.
Well, I mean, I think, and one thing I do want to touch on, and I mentioned it a little bit in the book, is I think when you get certain people like a Trump, where, let's say and again, I should maybe for the record say I'm an independent. I've always been an independent.
You said that in the book. You've always been no party preference.
Right.
Never registered Dem or Republican.
I'm pretty sure no. Pretty sure no. I felt like something came up where I thought about it, but I've been no party preference since I could vote, as I recall, at least.
Yeah, good for you.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't need a pat on the back, but I always saw it as, I don't need other people to tell me my platform,
Right on.
But so I'm saying that now because I don't want to look like I'm purposely harping on Republicans, but Republicans have kind of been, you've got this tribe that I knew as Republican, and it included my father, included other family members. I was very in line and in agreement with many things that were talked about in the Republican platform. And, I feel like it's shifted, and I'm not the only one.
Oh, it definitely has changed.
It has shifted.
Yeah.
And do you know S.E. Cupp?
CNN.
So I think she was on Fox initially, or she was
I think.
But she said something, I remember she said it, and I'm like, I'm going to remember that. She said, the Republican Party can survive a Trump candidacy, but it cannot survive a Trump presidency.
Yes.
And I'm like, wow, put a pin in that, as I guess Rachel Maddow would say, right?
Yeah.
That's her thing. But I remember thinking, okay, I'm going to remember that. And I think to a certain extent, I think it has not survived this. I think it's changed. I mean, it's still called the Republican Party, but I feel like when you say you care about fiscal responsibility, and you're all over Obama about the national debt, and then it goes up another $2 trillion, and it's all nothing but crickets. Now granted, you got to prioritize things, and that debt did go up so significantly with Obama because of the recession the Great Recession and the steps he had to take. But I mean, there's certain things that the Republican parties were supposed to be known for. Typically they were more hawkish, which isn't fair, and the Democrats were more dovish, and that's not fair.
No, that's not.
Yeah, and I don't. And that's also talk about it. I think that's totally outdated. I think we're stuck in this loop from the '60s or even the McCarthy era, where we just can't get out of it. And I think that's part of it. Like we've I have family members who just won't, whom I love dearly, but just either won't or just aren't capable to just snap out of that. And friends
it's true.
But yeah, so what I want to say with Trump is, so I think with Trump, in some cases, I mean, he might do things where you start to see a little fractures in that tribe, right? You get like, here's our tribe, Republican, let's say, and then something happens where he makes terrible comments, and most people write it off. Well, he just we're good with the economy. He says some stuff, but we're good with the economy. I challenge that in this book, but
right.
or at least that we're good with the economy because of him. Let me put it that way.
Okay, that's fair.
And not to say Obama either. I think there are ebbs and flows, and we can talk about that. But the thing is, like, sometimes there'll be someone who comes along and say, no, I don't agree with that. Or like there are a handful of Republican pundits who will, no, that's wrong. I'm calling him out on it. That's wrong. I say a handful because it seems like that's all it is.
Right.
But, you know, every so often, like, so you've got this tribe, and all of a sudden, like, to me, like, I'm calling it a tribal tremor. Because that's what it is. Like, something's happening where your tribe is now being shaken because you've got some people in your tribe who are now dissenting. Right. So then it's kind of like, at what point do you say, okay, I'm still with Trump, or I'm still with this group, or I'm still with whatever position, even though other people I care about and respect are starting to see things differently, or even though I'm starting to get evidence that shows something different. You know, so at what point does those tribal tremors like get people to actually say, you know what, I'm my own tribe. I'm my own tribe.
Yeah.
I'm my own tribe, and you know, either I'm my own tribe or we are all one tribe. Actually, both simultaneously, right?
I hear you.
Now, this is maybe Pollyanna, but I mean, that is kind of what I think needs to happen. And you know, you have certain people that you think can shake things up, and I know Trump was one of those people who was going to shake things up, and he certainly did. But again, like I say in this book, I mean, it's like, you know, it's a difference between shaking things up to the point to like try to reevaluate how we're going to govern, and then like an earthquake. Do you know what I'm saying? Like where you're damaging institutions that we care about when you know, and this is the other thing, talking about, like, I think Republicans losing a little bit of that identity. You know, this is, you know, founding fathers, you know, you hear this. But, you know, the Founding Fathers wanted a separation of powers.
Yeah, they did.
And that was, you know, we're leaving a monarch. You know, we want separation of powers.
That's been happening over decades. Little by little, the executive branch has been gaining more power, but it's accelerated under Trump, for sure.
Yeah. You know, I wouldn't know enough to know for sure, but I agree with that. I remember Obama getting blamed a lot for his executive orders.
Yeah, and that was part of the incremental.
Sure.
But then it just went hockey stick.
Well, I mean, he's telling people not to, you know, oh, you got a subpoena from Congress, don't worry about it, don't go. I mean, you know, this is, so that's what really, this is why, like, I'm trying to get people, to, you know, if you voted for Trump for a variety of reasons, whatever you voted for him, recognize now, like, the way I see it now, if you're voting for him again, you're voting for someone who, by his own actions and words, like, does not seem to care about the separations of powers.
No, not at all. No.
And like
only I can fix it.
Right.
Yeah.
So then it's like, are you okay? If you are someone who cares about the Founding Fathers and applauds when he hugs his flag in front of the military after he lied to them about the raise he's going to give them.
Right.
Like, if you're one of those people that just like will just go along with that, but you'll still talk about the Founding Fathers. Let's go back to the Founding Fathers, and let's, like, you know, acknowledge that there are three branches for a reason.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, I even find it disturbing him talking about, you know, he's putting every shade he can on Congress, anybody who's not a Trump sycophant, but he's doing it to the judges too.
Oh, of course.
And that to me is incredibly dangerous.
It's divide and conquer. It's about people proclaiming their loyalty, and if they don't, then they're, you know, loser, disloyal, every name in the book.
Right. So, okay, so my sister married a German, and it's an awesome guy. And our family just got back from the trip. We were talking about it. So we went with them to their house in Germany, and then we traveled a little bit with them. But we had great talks with him. And, you know, so Germany has terrible blood in its history, obviously.
Yeah.
And, you know, they acknowledge that, and they're very aware of that, and they don't hide from that. And, you know, they have that collective national shame, but, you know, they're trying to, like, you know, work through that. But, you know, this is something that, you know, I hate saying Hitler, because then I'm not saying Trump equals Hitler. I'm not saying that. I'm saying Trump is doing things that Hitler did.
That's true in some cases.
Yeah, I'm not saying Trump is murdering 6 million people.
Yeah, right.
I'm saying he's doing things that Hitler did. I mean, he was incredibly charismatic. I don't know if I can, what words I can use
You
on
can
this.
say whatever you
Well,
want to say.
to hell with the press.
Yeah. Oh, hell.
Yeah, whatever. I don't know.
No, this is a podcast.
Yeah,
We can
okay,
say whatever we want.
okay. But you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
those are things that are dangerous.
Yeah,
like,
you're right.
And regardless of whether or not it's fake news or you think it's fake news is to him, obviously anything that's against him is fake news. But those are things that, like, and another thing I'm trying to get across in this book is I feel like people just have this thing, like, things will work out, you know, we're in a little bump, and I hope we are. I hope this is a little bump. But, like, there is no guarantee that this is just a little bump. There is not.
No.
Like you have to do something to stop it from just being from getting to be a bigger bump. And this is why it's so important for people to, to become active citizens and to vote. Well, to become educated about the issues as best you can, and to vote clearly. But that's something I also want to leave people with, is that, or, in the book I end it kind of with that, is, this is, it's just so common to be like, yeah, we'll get through this. We've always got through this before. And
well,
not every country does.
Liberty is a very fragile thing.
Yeah.
And it can be gone in a generation.
Sure.
This nation could be gone in a generation. And really, every 4 years, it can take a serious turn, one way or the other. So, yeah, we're going through an inflection point right now.
Yeah.
And are we going to continue on the new trajectory, or are we going to have a little course correction?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like it sounds like alarmist to say these things, but I find them alarming. I find them alarming. And
well, we're talking about walls and travel bans and send her back. And this is very different than the whole notion of give us your poor and huddle masses, melting pot, what America was known for. Right.
But, people say, well, hey, that's not in the Constitution, right? That's what some people will say. It sounds nice. It's nice poetic stuff,
but it's
not.
Well, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No. But yeah, I'm sorry. But you're right. I mean, that is the America I love, right? I mean, America is a, I've heard it said, it's an experiment.
Yes, it is.
And it is absolutely an experiment. I mean, we were just in a couple of countries where pretty homogeneous population, and they try things. We were in Denmark, Germany, and Norway, and you always hear about Denmark and Norway being the happiest places. And it's funny, you talk to them, you're like, wow, that's interesting. But they are content, I guess is the proper way to put it.
A lot of that's cultural.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm not necessarily one to say, hey, they do it in Norway, so it's going to work here.
Yeah.
But what I don't like is when people say, hey, it can't work in Norway, it can't work here because, Norway's got a smaller population. Right?
Yeah.
I think we got to look at
things can scale.
We got to look at a lot of different things. There are a lot of things I think that can scale, and I think we have to stop looking. We have to stop our planning for the future by looking at yesterday. We got to look about what's coming around the corner. But yeah, anyway, my brother-in-law had a great talk, and it's, this whole idea about, like, Rome was going to last forever until it didn't, right?
Right. Yeah.
It just didn't. And, these banana republics, or I don't know what the proper terms are, but there's some of these things that are set up by some people with good intentions, and no, didn't work out. And, I don't know if that's where we're going. I'm not saying that's where we're going. I certainly hope that things will work out. But I'm not one to just be quiet about it and just hope anymore. I mean, it's funny. We were talking about some, Star Trek, and I love fiction, and I love, and we have two boys, and got into all the superhero stuff, and we saw the Wonder Woman movie. I don't know if you saw.
I haven't seen that one yet.
But there's this great line. I mean, every so often, pop culture comes up with a great one, and I'm going to butcher it, but it was essentially along the lines of one of the male characters is in this, and he was talking about why he entered, I guess, World War I. And he's like, my father told me I can either be a person who does nothing and watches, or I can be a person who tries.
Yeah.
And he's like, I've done enough of the first thing.
Okay.
And to me, this is like, it's weird how you can get inspired by a movie like that. But,
yeah.
But these are like very important themes, and they're timely now.
Well, the beauty is that with the First Amendment, you're free to express yourself without being thrown in the gulag.
I hope so.
I hope
so.
That's great. That's one of the beautiful things about America as well. But even that's under threat. President Trump is now wanting to hop in bed with the social media companies and maybe control some of that content. It's very interesting things going on with the First Amendment.
Yeah, that is disturbing. And the other side you'll hear, right, from, again, I always try to look at the different sides. The other side is you hear, well, like, hey, people should be able to say whatever they want about, quote unquote hate speech if they want to say it, it's First Amendment. But, I think like as a society, we come together, we say, hey, we don't all live on islands. We don't have our own island. We're coming together. We're going to say these are the things we're okay with. These are the things we're not okay with. Like you can't scream fire in a theater, and it's not okay to do things that are going to.
I've an opinion on that. So, in my opinion, the whole point of the First Amendment is so that you can say hate speech, so that you can say things that are unpopular. That doesn't mean that it's morally right to say it. It doesn't mean that it's ethical or appropriate. It's not good manners.
Yeah, but you're not going to go to jail for saying it.
Right.
Right.
But in the case of fire in a crowded theater, that's used a lot. But I think the courts have said that really isn't applicable. That's my understanding of it because it was mentioned, I think about a century ago by one of our Supreme Court justices. But I don't believe that necessarily is the law right now because my interpretation is, and here I'm like a guy with a podcast. What the hell do I know? I said hell. If you say fire in a crowded theater and nobody moves, then that's not a problem. The problem is inciting a riot. That's the crime, not the words that are said. And I think that's an important differentiation. But I know I'm on a tangent.
It's a tough. I mean, I certainly don't have all the answers. I mean, but I recognize and I appreciate that we're having a nuanced conversation.
Yeah.
Because that's what's important is that people understand the nuances to this because you're right. Like if there's a Hitler guy who wants to go out and say all these terrible things, do I think he's a terrible person? Probably. Yeah. But I mean, like at what point, like it's a touchy thing. So when you hear about the slippery slope argument, you can understand why that makes sense.
Yeah. But that's where I think society and culture need to influence and move those people to the sideline, re-educate them.
Right. And that's absolutely the edge. I mean, it always comes down to education, but then you have people, this is another important topic nowadays, is there are people who are so distrustful of education, right? Because it's the elites telling them what to believe.
Right.
And so, I mean, these are problems that are cultural problems that, like what do you do when like people have facts? They can literally show you A plus B equals C, and they can run it through, and people won't believe it. Like what?
That's an alternative fact.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, like that is a real. I mean, that's you talk about I think it's like climate change. These really really important things that people don't want to recognize, but the fundamental part of that is they don't want to recognize it because they don't want to. I don't know, like they just don't want to believe certain people or don't want to believe that certain things are true. Because, like I said, I guess back to the tribe thing. Their tribe has already said, now if a lib says this or a libtard says this, then they're just forget it.
Yeah.
Regardless of whether or not they have facts or not.
And that's true. If you flip the table around,
sure,
you'll see both cases.
Yeah.
And you're right. It comes down to tribalism. It's almost like religious. If they say something that's against my religion, it throws up the people put on their battling gloves.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
I mean, really, I mean, not necessarily going. I mean, we're talking politics and religion here, but yeah, I mean, religion too. It's a set of ideas, right? I mean, these are all sets of ideas, and any set of ideas, if it can't, deal with questioning, then how strong are those ideas?
But aren't politics and religion some of the more interesting conversations?
They're the most important conversations,
provided you can have it in a civil tone,
right,
with someone that's respectful.
Absolutely.
If you have that, these are beautiful conversations.
And I don't know that like so. I have a friend from college that I haven't seen in 25 years or whatever it's been, 20 something years. She read this book and she's we've kind of changed it. We have different ways of thinking, right? And it felt great to get a little feedback from her. I mean, the parts of the book that I thought she might have a problem with, she had a problem with, but she agreed with a lot of what I said, and it just felt good. I felt like I'm talking. Well, granted, this was all through texting.
Yeah.
But it was like I'm talking with someone, I'm communicating, and they're hearing me, and they're communicating back, and I'm hearing them.
Yeah.
And that was incredibly refreshing.
It is.
It really, really
It's
was.
beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's, I mean, I don't know if you know who Sam Harris is.
Oh,
He's
yeah,
an author,
yeah.
right? So he's fond of saying, I know he's controversial to some people, but he's fond of saying something along the lines of, we have two options. We have violence and we have conversation.
He's right.
And when you really pair it all out, that's really what it comes down to. I'm like, you know, I don't want to go there with the violence. So I want to try to look into the nuances of the conversation. And I see a lot of, like, we're talking about, you're this, well, you're a capitalistic pig, whatever, you're a socially commie, whatever. I see a lot of that. Now, I don't really even consider that communication anymore. But that is kind of what the communication component typically is. So trying to get into the nuances of what communication could be or should be is, you know, at this point, it's one of my life goals.
You did a great job in this book, I thought, in being very transparent about who you were and about your own maybe biases or maybe sharing that you don't necessarily have a bias in some cases, but all you wanted to do was present facts. You gathered some, you know, input from a lot of people that you know and trusted, and you just laid it out. And I didn't take from this where this is some, you know, crazy leftist bashing Trump. You know, it came to me as very, you know, methodical presentation with a solid bibliography, a presentation of the facts. I thought it was well done.
I appreciate that. I really do.
Yeah. And I obviously there's going to be people that won't like it, that'll challenge it. But I would say that if even the most hardcore Trump supporters, if they were to at least read the table of contents, I think they would agree with that list of 15.
I do too. I mean, though I didn't dream those up. I mean, those were all things that I heard. You know,
Yeah.
like, you know, I mean, so yeah, no, that means a lot. I really appreciate that. I mean, that's essentially what I was going for. It's a strange world we live in, and you know, we get one crack at life, and you don't know who you're going to influence, who you're not, but you know, you influence nobody if you don't try, you know. And
So tell me the story about the cover art.
there's not that much. My wife's like, okay, does this? All right, I'm curious. Does that? Can you even tell what that is? I don't even know.
Hold it up there a little bit. Yeah.
Well, so the intent is
Okay.
So here, okay. So my wife's a public relations person. So
Okay.
her initial thing was, what the hell is that? You know?
Is that a rose?
Oh, okay. So this is failure number one. So this is written in 2 weeks.
Okay.
But so the cover art. So this is supposed to be a red MAGA hat.
Oh, a MAGA hat.
It's supposed to be a MAGA hat. And my
All right.
son, my at the time 13-year-old son's even like, oh, you need to write MAGA. But then I'm like, someone's going to sue me if I write MAGA.
No. Yeah.
But so 2016, and basically someone has these reasons, but come by 2020, the support has left, and they're recognizing that those reasons aren't valid anymore.
That's the second part of the title.
Yeah, that was the intent.
And
but
why
now,
these don't apply in 2020. Okay.
that was the intent, and now I'm realizing, if you thought that was a rose, that was a major failure on my part. But I'll correct the record here.
I thought people were like throwing roses.
No.
I wasn't sure. But yeah, okay, MAGA hat, duh.
Yeah,
I don't know why
I'm not the best artist, as you can tell, so that was all
Okay,
through.
it's all good.
I think PowerPoint.
That's awesome.
But yeah, no, it's trying to be just, you know, one person trying to say what I can.
Yeah, but you know, I mean, this is a special thing. Like I say, well, you're a published author. That's a major deal for a person in their lifetime, and hopefully, this is not the only one.
No, I definitely have things I want to write, and I've been working on. But I mean, this is all kind of hobby stuff for me, honestly. Like,
Yeah.
I have a day job. We have 2 kids. My
Yeah.
wife works too. So,
Yeah.
you know, this just happened to be like kind of came out very quickly. But no, it's definitely something I enjoy doing, and it's you know, just trying to get important ideas out there. I mean, one other thing, maybe deviating a little bit from the book, but one thing that I think is so important, and one thing why I also think Trump is not right for 2020, I personally think he should be impeached, but just 2020, is that I don't think he is someone, you know, he thinks about himself, all that stuff, but he's not someone, in my view, that's actually looking in the future. Like he's not looking around the corner. He's looking in the past.
Mm-hmm.
He wants to bring back a past that was, that doesn't apply now. The world we're moving into, like, we need leaders who like understand that, or at least recognize that. You have artificial intelligence, you have machine learning. These aren't things like the Industrial Revolution never ended, right? I mean, that people talk about that like it was over in the history books. That's still going.
Yes, it is.
And it's taking, and forgive me, I think you've talked about some of this before, but like, self-driving cars, right? Well, half the states, their top job is truck driver, right?
See, now you're sounding like Andrew Yang right here.
Yeah, well, it's true though.
He talks about this a lot.
Yeah, I mean, like this is the stuff that like you have like with Trump, like the metaphor I use in here is that you have some countries that are like building self-driving Lamborghinis, going 0 to 60 in 1 millisecond, whatever it might be, and Trump is like riding a dead or a donkey to his death, trying to whip it to go faster. Like,
right.
I feel like he is a leader who's looking at past ways of doing things. And I do like that about Yang actually. But like you need people who are going to recognize, like when we have, people are employed now. Apparently, I don't know all the details about whether it's underemployment or whatever, but I'm certainly happy that people have jobs.
Yeah.
But like I think we have to be aware of the fact that a lot of these jobs are going to continually be going away, and we have to be planning for that. Like people talk about universal basic income. Like, I mean, again, I'm maybe deviating a little bit here.
We can go anywhere we want in this conversation.
Yeah, but like I do want to get this out there because this is another idea that just I'd love to get feedback on, because I think it, I'm always trying to look for, there's a lot of this. I'm just trying to find like what might work,
But here's my angle on this.
Yeah.
Is that the economy always evolves. And some jobs are lost because new technology comes forward. Think of all the people that lost their job at Blockbuster Video because of it's kind of a funny, silly example.
No, I know.
But technology progresses. But you know what we have now? We have more jobs than we've ever had because new industries come up. There are always entrepreneurs, innovators, creating new ideas, new employment opportunities. I mean, if you roll the clock back to the 1950s, who would have ever thought we would have an internet boom? And think of all the people that are employed as a result of that industry that just started up really in the 90s.
Yeah. No, I certainly hope that that's always the thing, is that the jobs just change, right?
Yeah, they change.
But I do kind of get the sense that this is different. Like, so I took, just because I love to learn and I did this for fun, I took this 6-month boot camp about databases and coding and tried to learn some of that stuff. So part of this was we actually learned how to do Twitter bots, and we had to learn how to do these different things, like little glimpse of like machine learning and how these algorithms run. And excuse me, but I mean, I think a lot what you just said, I think is the common idea that a lot of people have, and I've heard a lot of economists say that. But then I'm also getting some economists starting, I think, kind of recognizing, well, maybe this is a little different, because now you have, machines, they've taken over the blue collar jobs, lots of them.
Yeah.
But they're taking over the white collar jobs.
That's true too.
So like, when you can create algorithms that operate very close to a human brain, I'm not saying we're there or anything like that, but now here we are with the science fiction and Star Trek.
And Albert Einstein.
But this is why I love this stuff, because, Star Trek is, it's this idea that people throw these ideas out there, but then they work towards them. And all of a sudden, wow, we have a tricorder or whatever it is, in our cell phones. And so, but I think a lot of these things are out there. And I feel like people like Yang recognize that. I don't know that everybody else does. Like, in fairness, I don't. I like a lot of people on the left. I like Bernie Sanders personally a lot, but I don't know that a lot of people on the left. I don't feel like anybody's really talking about this as much as it should, and as much as we should, because I do think it's probably inevitable. And then the matter is, just hear me out here. You might not agree with that, but
go ahead.
But let's say that is inevitable, and now you have a lot of people living here. You have this tribal, anger, and now you have less and less jobs. Well, what is that going to do? It's going to people are going to be. It's going to, fires are going to increase here as far as like the fear of losing their job. I don't want to lose my job to a Mexican. I don't want to, who's this person coming in taking my job? Like those are just going to get, continue to fester. So, I mean, in a way, this could turn to like a very dystopian thing. So people talk then about universal basic income. And I'm thinking, well, okay, but someone's got to pay for that.
Exactly.
Right? So this is where like, that sounds good until you realize someone has to pay for it.
Right.
So this is what I want to throw out there as a thought. And I wrote this Medium article about it once just because I wanted to get it out. But this is why I think like things like the Green New Deal, I don't know all the ins and outs of that. I know a lot of people don't like it because it talks, I think, about, more jobs and union type things, which, that there are issues with unions on maybe there are issues of merit with unions, but in my view, that's separate completely. Like if you're trying to go green jobs, go green. Just get let's say we get all green jobs out there or get new solar plants or wind plants, right? If we do that, just hear me out. So if we have a bunch of solar plants everywhere, if you take the square footage of Spain and make all that solar panels, right? So
interesting. Okay.
Spain, you would have enough energy for the entire planet.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
According
I didn't
to
know
this
that.
one article I read. I don't know.
Well,
but it was a legit article.
Yeah,
I'd have to go
I
find
believe
it.
it.
But so the idea is you can, put, and I have like some of these credentials through my job where I'm like a, certified energy manager and all. You get certain this training, you get some of this training. So I've gotten some of this information, but so if you have that, one thing that is always free is, their photons are free.
Yeah, they are.
I mean, and you look at like, yes, there's a cost to set up this infrastructure, but it is an absolutely an investment. We have solar panels at our house.
Yeah, so do we.
Yeah,
it's like a no-brainer.
It's absolutely a no-brainer.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, so I think we have another year and we're done.
Yeah.
It's free energy.
Yeah.
So that is money we would normally be spending that we are now not having to spend. So
yeah, which is a ton of money here in San Diego.
Well, I know, but right, and there's no control over that, right? It can go up and down, and I know SDG&E is changing structures or has changed their structures, but my point on this, just going down this, just hear me out a little bit more.
No, keep going.
Is that that is a currency. Photons are a currency because why? Because if you have like it's sun money, right? Because if you have that, like normally that energy to run an AC.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, you have like you're paying money for that, and that money's coming from gas lines that all the distribution systems and that go to SDG&E, and then or not gas, whatever. But I mean, I'm saying like there's a whole infrastructure there.
There is.
that does not run by itself forever.
Right.
Right. For free. Like you have to do lots of things for that to keep working. Whereas with solar panels, yes, there's some maintenance, but you wash them. You rinse them off. I mean, there's not much to it. There are no moving pieces.
Yes.
So that is, yes, there'll be some maintenance. But once you set up an infrastructure like that, you have endless resource for energy.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
If you have endless resource for energy, think about like the Carlsbad desalination plant.
Right.
What's the main cost for those things? Is the energy to push through that reverse osmosis system, right? Well, if you have endless energy, you can handle that.
Yeah.
Then guess what? You have endless clean water.
Yes.
And right, if you have endless clean water, endless energy, you have endless energy to pump that water wherever the hell you want to pump it.
Right.
Again, all this has to do with like you have to invest in the setting up the infrastructure.
Right.
So then you can pump it to East County or out west where you're farming.
Like Borrego, they're having to ration water now.
Yeah, I mean,
Borrego Springs.
Yeah, I mean, our water system obviously has taken a hit for years. I guess the last couple of years have been a little bit better, but you have to kind of plan for what people are saying is going to happen, what scientists are saying is happening, right, with these droughts. So, but then you have endless clean water supply. You can farm if you have the water for essentially right energy. Then essentially prices go to zero. Not zero exactly, but close to zero.
Right.
Then water essentially can almost go to zero, right? I mean, you have to maintain, not exactly, but, and then all of a sudden, a big part of like farming or whatever, water is a big part of that. Excuse me.
And the cost of food will go down.
Cost of food will go down.
Yeah.
So then now you're looking at, okay, I live in a hot place, but I have AC. I don't have to worry about that. I'm not going to dump my father or mother isn't going to die of a heat stroke in their house. You know, there's water. They're going to have water, and food is going to be like maybe not free, but like inexpensive and maybe healthy. Something healthy food. So then you have a scenario where like, okay, the basics are kind of there. So then what happens? So when we talked before about tribalism, well, tribalism, that all started because there was limited resources, and we needed to defend ourselves from people taking our farmland.
Like Mad Max, man.
Yeah, gosh, I'm embarrassed that I haven't even seen that.
You haven't seen Mad Max?
I just saw The Godfather. There are a list of all these movies that I have to see that I am just getting to, but.
We need to spend some time.
Okay.
But anyway, keep going.
Yeah,
I'm loving this conversation.
No, so basically, then all that the root cause, like this is like a root cause analysis, right? So I do procedures a lot for where I work, and part of that is like, well, this happens. Well, why does that happen? Because this happens. Well, why does that happen? You know, I think there's a whole term, the 5 whys. You're supposed to ask why 5 times, and by that time you're supposed to get to the root cause, right? So the root cause, it's like a psychological need for survival. I mean, that's really what it is.
Well, of course.
So what else could it be, right? So now if you set up this system where the root cause of survival is mitigated, like you don't have to worry that if I don't have a job, I'm probably not, my kids aren't going to die. You know what I'm saying? We might not like get like the best sneakers or whatever, but like we're not gonna die. We're gonna be able to eat, and we're gonna be, you know. Then it's like the whole calculus of tribalism. It's kind of like you're pulling the rug out from underneath the whole structure up.
Yeah.
So that's why, like, when people say the Green New Deal, oh, whatever, it's stupid. I applaud the idea of just hardcore pushing for green infrastructure.
Yeah.
You know, whether it's a Green New Deal or what, and whether or not unions are involved or not, those are separate issues.
Well, yeah.
But like to me, that like, so when people talk about universal basic income, I'm like, okay, well that's something they're going to need to be a continual flow of money like forever for that to happen.
Yeah.
Well, there's a continual flow of something, but it's the sun.
Yeah.
It's when, you know, so these are things where like, I think especially in California, people like, solar panels and wind panels, you were a hippie if you wanted that. Like that, I think people have finally realized that this is legit.
Oh yeah,
a legit energy source. It makes sense. So anyway, I think, you know, my hope is that like, you know, people can really push for those types of things, and I feel like that can help mitigate what could end up being a pretty dystopian future.
Well,
you know,
we have solar and we have 2 electric cars.
Oh yeah.
So it's like never have to buy gas.
Yeah.
I like people will whine and moan when price gas goes up. I'm like, what?
Yeah, sucks to be you.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But you know, it's interesting as you touched on a number of topics. I'm with you on the whole, you know, investment into green technology. Now we can discuss who does that investment. Is it individuals? Is it taxpayers? Is it corporations? But the idea, the science, the technology is right. What I think would be really cool is that if people had that sustainable model, and to your point, you wouldn't have to worry about your family eating. You can get to the point now where suddenly we don't have to struggle to live. We free up our minds to be more creative.
Yeah.
All these new innovations are going to come forward, and we're going to see the quality of life ratchet up even higher. There will be new industries, new technologies, new things that will come forward that will change our life dramatically, all in positive ways.
I love this conversation because I think when people hear about the future, it just immediately goes to dystopia, and it doesn't have to be.
No, yeah.
And but the thing is, but my point is like, I don't think Trump gets that. I don't think. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think there are many people even talking about that the way to the extent that I think they should be.
Well, the whole Trump fake news thing is like dystopia. It's like George Orwell.
Yeah.
You know?
So I mean, that's the thing. Like, I feel like, you know, Democrat, or I'd be totally happy if was it Bob Weld or
Bill Weld.
Bill Weld.
I like him.
Yeah. I mean, whoever. I mean, somebody who acts like an adult.
Yeah.
Doesn't treat our allies like enemies, you know, all the, but some adult who can come in and I don't know. I have to kind of figure out who I'm voting for. I don't know. I got a little time to figure that out.
Yeah,
but
lots of time. Things will change a lot too.
Yeah, and I don't care. I don't care for little sound bites about Joe Biden said, he what was it? He tried to give out his number for texting, and he said something stupid. It's like, come on.
My favorite Joe Biden line, you maybe have heard, is President Obama has a plan for America, and it's 3 letters, JOBS, jobs. Biden is a good guy, but he sometimes trips over his own words.
Yeah,
but they all.
But
do.
Come on, look at the model we just had in front of us here.
Yeah.
We have in front of us now. I think Joe Biden. I think he's smart. I think he's got his heart in the right place. I don't know. I'm not stumping for anybody here.
I know you're not.
But I'm just looking at alternatives to what we have right now.
Well, with President Trump, you can take any issue, and I will. You can cite him being against it and for it.
Yeah. And this is,
it's incredible.
It's almost, I have to say, even just now talking about, I wrote a book about Trump, and we're talking about Trump. It's almost draining to even think about it, but to keep thinking about Trump, even though I just wrote a book about it. But you're right, it is totally true, and I feel like that is I don't know if he does it on purpose, but I think he probably does.
I think it's calculated because he's able to get support from either side of the argument,
and he can always say, go back at this date, I said this on this date. Yeah, well, you said that on the date like an hour before, know. But it's this game. It's just this. In my view, right? And I'm not trying to demean Trump voters, whatever, but this is such an obvious con man, in my view.
Yeah.
Right. I'm not saying the man's not, redeemable on a human level. No, I'm not saying he's a devil. I'm not saying he's Hitler. I'm saying, come on, we can do so much better, so much better. I do think he's an embarrassment. Oh, okay, I'm going to stop because this is not the tone I'm trying to take with this book.
Yeah, and I want to be clear on that too. The tone of the book is quite a bit different than what we're having a conversation.
Thank you, because my target audience is actually people who are considering voting for him.
Right.
And
or maybe even some people that might be on the fence. Am I going to vote again for him in 2020, or maybe am I going to do something different?
Well, right, and I think a lot of it too. So he was a master at the other side is worse, right? Getting other people to the other side is really Hillary's, mentally ill, everybody's crazy. It was an obvious. Bernie Sanders, once he realized he wasn't going against Bernie Sanders, he's like, oh yeah, Bernie Sanders is a great guy, because he wants to get people from Bernie who liked Bernie Sanders to go to his side. Right. Now he's crazy Bernie, right? He's crazy Bernie, socialist Bernie, he's crazy. So he's using all the same tactics. It's to me, it's it's a slow, like I said, it's a slow moving train wreck that happened. I didn't think he would win, but when it did happen, I couldn't believe it. It was so surreal. It's still surreal now, and I can see an avenue where he could win again.
Oh, very much so.
It's something like 3 states, right?
Yeah, he could easily win.
So I'm trying to get those people, but
have you ever listened to Scott Adams? And any of his coffee talks he does on Twitter. He's the author of Dilbert.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think I heard him on a Sam Harris podcast.
He's a very interesting guy. He called Trump to be the winner shortly after he made his announcement speech when he came down the escalator at Trump Tower. And he basically saw how Trump was essentially manipulating the messaging and really playing a game, communication game at a totally different level that we are used to in the regular political discourse. And he said, he's going to win. And this was in a month after his announcement, where people were like, he's not going to win. There's no way.
Yeah.
And look what happened.
Well, I heard one interview with him, and, I always loved Dilbert. But I got the sense that he was loving that he manipulated it as if that was something Trump's supposed to get a gold medal for, I'm like, that's not something to applaud in my book. Not. But yeah, that's the sense I got from him. But yeah, no, I absolutely agree that Trump is a master at making himself look good and public relations or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
But
you said he was a master marketer, and he is.
Yeah.
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 I just thought that was a remark. That's when I was really kind of figured it out, that you can't take his words at face value. Because if you did, you'd go crazy.
So, but what are we saying here? This is my point, right?
Yeah.
yeah, we can't take the president's words at face value. Okay, you can say that about Obama. You can say that about anybody, right? Oh, everybody said something that wasn't totally true. But you look at, like, I cite some things in here about, like, the quantity of lies and mistruths.
Oh.
And it's come
Yeah.
on, people, come on. Like, for real. Stop. Like,
Yeah.
snap out of it. If people really think that this guy is, like, telling the truth or whatever, no, we need someone who at the very least is going to be remotely honest, with the American people. Like it's like the stuff with Mueller. I go a little bit into that because I downloaded the podcast or the audiobooks, and
that's what you were recommending, that people listen to it in their car.
Because it's a lot. It's a lot, God. Right? And
it's like 800 pages, isn't it?
At the very least download the audiobook, and they summarize the 2 sections. There's like 25 minutes each, right?
Oh, that's not bad.
Yeah, it's totally doable.
I have podcasts that are twice that long.
Yeah, no, but yeah, I mean, the guy, it's like, oh no, he lied about this, and this, but it wasn't under oath. So, well, yeah, but he lied.
Yeah.
And he said it with a straight face, like about the Moscow Tower or whatever, right? There's sometimes there's really no other way to put it. The man lied, knowing what he was doing.
But let's be, all politicians lie to varying degrees. It's that Trump has just taken it to a whole new level.
Yeah, I mean, I would probably grant you that's probably true, but I think it's maybe like, politicians play it, right? I mean, if they're talking to one audience, they're going to stress something, and
yes, they will,
and maybe mislead, whether it's all a lie or whatever. But that's the quote unquote game. It is, yeah. That why I could never run for or never win anything in office. I just couldn't. I would suck at that game. I wouldn't want to do it. It is a game. Yeah. Even at the local level, it is a game. So this is something wrong though, right? I mean, this is like wrong. I hope enough people recognize it. The fact that this is a game is not the ideal. No. And we should be striving for a more perfect union, right? A better country. And I think we've just come to say, oh, all politicians lie. And that, maybe that's true, but certainly not to this degree.
Can I switch gears a little bit?
Absolutely, yeah.
Walk me through the process of how you got it published.
Yeah, well.
I mean, that's an interesting thing in itself.
Yeah, it's this is kind of the democratization of a lot of different things. I mean, you can do this now by yourself. So this is a self-published book. It's funny. I have 2 brothers, 2 sisters, and one brother and one sister they're twins, and they've actually both written novels. So they're actually going through, and I've read them, and I don't read that much, but they're good. I mean, to me, they're just as good as a lot of other novels that are out there. Good. So, but they're going through this whole process about how to, the letters to the authors and all this stuff, or the publishing companies, and how to get that published. And it's this difficult process, right? Because you have to meet the right people. It's like becoming an actor in Hollywood, right? Yeah. So this was, I had these ideas. I got it out. It was going to be a long article. I figured out it was longer than a long article. I wanted to try a different avenue. So I looked on Amazon. You can self-publish on Amazon. So that's what I did. So you can go there. It's like KindleDirectPublishing.com, I think, something along the line. But if you type in Kindle Publishing, it comes up. And I mean, a lot of it's kind of, relatively easy. I mean, they give you like a Kindle. I have a Kindle version of the book, and then the paperback version. And it's cool with the Kindle book because you can, a lot of these things that I link to in the book, you can actually press it and immediately go right there.
Oh yeah, cool.
And there are other neat things about the Kindle version, like it can, Alexa. I don't know if you have Alexa.
I don't have it, but I know of it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean we have that. And so, Alexa can read my book to me. And
so do you just basically just wrote a giant Word document and then you just upload it?
Essentially, yes.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, there's a little bit more to that. They have a software. Kindle, Amazon has a Kindle software where you can upload it in there, and then you just do some formatting in there, and you save it. It's not a DOC file. I forgot what it's called, but some other file. But
they don't edit it for you or proofread it or anything. You just upload it, and they print it and sell it.
Yep.
That's cool.
And I know at least one typo in there. I'm not going to tell anybody where it is.
Well, that's why you can have a second edition, to cover those.
There's at least one.
Well, I went on Amazon and you got 2 really nice reviews, and the book's only been out, like a month?
Yeah. No, it's cool. Like I've had, obviously from family and friends have purchased it, but then I've also, I've got some other people that are buying it, and it's kind of cool, like, to slowly get this out here. I mean, I haven't really tried any like real public relations push or anything like that.
Yeah.
Step 1 for me was just to write it. Step 2, figure out how to publish it. And now hopefully there's some way I can help people to, find it. And this is a huge help. I appreciate this.
No worries. Well, this is step 1 of your book tour, right?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, there you go.
You have public speaking engagements and TED Talks.
Which is funny because if, my wife is much more of an extrovert than I am. This is not really my thing, but I feel strongly about some of the stuff. So it's, I appreciate the opportunity here. This is great.
Good.
Yeah.
So I can tell you got a lot of stuff like built up inside of you, and you just like getting it out.
Yeah.
Give me one more nugget of something you want to share with the audience that you're passionate about. And it doesn't necessarily have to be political. It could be anything.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I don't know how to answer that. I mean, I'm passionate about my, our kids, obviously. Like, I'm passionate about trying to make a better place for them. And, it's funny. Like, I was trying to like think of questions you might ask, and I you always go through, okay, well, the backstory, that's one, and then like I'm like, what if you ask like, who are your heroes or whatever, and I'm trying to think, well,
it's not a job interview.
I know, but still, just the idea. This isn't something I do,
right?
So, something. Okay, well, I could say Gandhi and all this stuff, and I do have a lot of these people that I see as heroes, but like everybody has flaws, and even these people that you hold up so high have flaws, and I think just recognizing that, I want to be my hero I want to be a hero to my kids. Like
cool.
That's what I want.
Right on.
And just trying to leave, show them that I'm trying, I had a mother pass when I was young, and, so I don't, again, maybe a little bit more, but you think about it as you get older, it's like, hey, I'm not here forever. And so you want to try what you can, when you can, to try to make the world better. And, and leave that for your kids and for whoever else who might be influenced by that. So I find a lot of passion in that. I mean, I remember, so I had I got my MBA at San Diego State, and this big push about mission statements for this business, that business, and someone I recommended that you write a mission statement for yourself.
Yeah.
And that was like a really neat idea. And it was something along the lines of, it's a little bit cliche, but live to the fullest, but to help other people to do the same thing, and that is kind of what big picture what I want my life to be, So, I'm trying different ways to try to figure that out. Like what I do now is like during my day job, it's like, as far as I'm concerned, I feel like I'm protecting taxpayer money. I feel good about that.
Yeah.
I feel like, okay, it's a small piece, but I'm adding.
Yeah.
I'm adding in a good way. And then, with my wife, we try to, make a better world for the kids, try to teach the kids new things. And it's we're incredibly, fortunate. I mean, privileged, like beyond doubt, just, with the life that my wife and I have. And, I've had experiences growing up where, you recognize, people's pain and you want to make sure that these people aren't forgotten. And, I mean, you see different parts of the world. Like I've traveled when I was younger to some poorer areas in the world, and you see, I told you I had this peace and justice minor, so I had this bent for quite a long time, and you definitely want, you want to make things better for other people. So anyway, that's something that I feel passionate about. But I go home and I watch Game of Thrones. I'm not there like every day. I don't want to pretend like I'm like Mr. Saint doing something. I'm definitely not. But people try. That's all you can do.
Well, that's very noble. I mean, to think that. Not to think, but to actually do, by being a great example for your children, showing that you can be outspoken, but do it in a civil and rational way, that you express yourself to try to improve society around you, that you're brave and you're willing to take risks that you think are beneficial for yourself and the world around you. You know, that's the opposite of cowardly, right? That is brave. And I think that's a superhero trait in itself.
Well, thank you. No, I that's something you strive for. You know, like I said, I was a shy kid, and I don't know that I would have thought myself a brave person, but regardless, I mean, this is what I'm passionate about, and you know, you just try to get other people to kind of maybe think along these same lines.
So how can people get the book?
Well, it's available at Amazon.com. It's just type in 15 Reasons Trump, I think, or whatever. It's called 15 Reasons People Voted for Trump. Am I in this? In 2016, and why these don't apply in 2020. So,
and you can even, like in the Amazon search, I looked up your name, Steve Dow.
Yes, there is another author named Steve Dow, I found out.
Okay.
So, but there are two of us, but he had a neat book there. But yeah, this is my first foray into writing a book.
Well, congratulations for doing it. I mean, like I said, I think to say you're a published author is a big deal. And I think it's great.
Thanks.
And I love having, you on the podcast, because we like interacting with a lot of interesting people in the Rancho Bernardo, Poway community.
Sure.
And so love having you on here. I just wish you the best of luck. And
thanks, John.
And I hope this is the first of many.
Yeah, me too. I appreciate this. This is an honor to be on this podcast. It's my wife told me I'd have fun, and she was right.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much.
All right, John. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right.
All right. Feel good.